Hi, Simon, and let's break down your water animation. So let's start with this one. Uh, One thing is that your water animations look quite good. So it's just small scenes here and there, and then we'll get to your original animation. So in this animation, everything looks quite good. One thing is just be aware of the arching arcs and stuff like that. So if you look here, it's just a bouncing ball. So we have something like that. We decelerate at the top and accelerate it a bit when we go down. So it's a small particle. Right here, this first thing is we decelerate a lot at the start, then we accelerate a lot and go up a lot. Then we immediately decelerate a lot again, accelerate a lot again. Then we break the curve by going straight forward to the right, and then we start going down. So just be aware of the arc and this stuff. Pretty much the same thing with the main particle. So we decelerate, then we suddenly accelerate, we decelerate again, and it follows the arc a bit better, but we lack a bit of that contrast and spacing. So you see we slow down quite a lot, then we start going down, we accelerate a bit more. Like compare this to this and compare this to this. Almost no difference here and noticeable difference here. Not a big thing, but just something to keep in mind. And the same thing here. See, it goes like this, and then it doesn't go down, it goes straight to the right part of the screen. And then it suddenly goes down. And then it doesn't arc, it just goes straight down. So we need to make sure that's an arc and not a rectangle. Next one, liquid trails. Nothing to say here. It's looking pretty good. It's a simple exercise and you're doing it great. Next one, water splashing. Pretty good rendition of this exercise. I like the directional changes. Most of stuff works super well. Again, it's doing good job at it. One thing is that one of the particles appears out of nowhere. So if you look here, we have this part and it creates a particle. So it goes, it extends and leaves the particles where it extended. And if you look here, it goes to the right and it doesn't leave an indication in the mass of the particle leaving. So the difference is this indication of the particle that's being created versus no change in shape. And the second difference is how fast it moves to the side. Aside from that, and aside from direction change here, see we're going up, suddenly we go to the right for one frame, we go back to the left. So aside from that, nothing major here. Hose, looking pretty good overall, I would say. A couple notes on the design side of things. So let's see. On this frame, you see, we had a lot of foam. And then we lose all the foam here. And because of that, we lose some indication of the shape and of the roundness. And we get a straight line, an exactly straight line. So we need to soften up a bit the edge here and add a bit more foam to connect it to the previous frame. Second thing is a sudden slowdown. See, we go, we slow down suddenly, and we accelerate. And the issue is not the slowdown itself, it's just the foam that's going straight down. So if you look at the foam, see it goes 1, 2, and then it basically just goes down in one spot. as opposed to, see, slower, accelerating, accelerating. So this could work, and this is a pretty fast and chaotic animation, so it kind of reads okay. But I think we can probably move that a bit further to create that sense of motion. Okay. Okay. Aside from these two issues, I don't think anything else needs to change heavily. So, water studies. They look quite good. I like the design choices. Colors are pretty nice. So, what we can push here? The first thing that comes to mind is working a bit with colors here and there. So, see that gray, greenish. I don't think it fits into that spot. So, increase the size. So you see this gradient is a bit grayish or greenish. Give it more blue tint. So if it's something like that, you see it's gray and unsaturated. If we give it some saturation, give it some lighter tint, bluish, I think it can fit a bit better, just because we have so much light coming through the water and give it a more colored, a more saturated tint. The second thing is, again, normal stuff, usual stuff, design and pushing scenes, making scenes even more interesting and more detailed, or rather more sought out. So this stuff on the same size, and we have two elements, very similar size, divided right in the middle. So we can push one higher, one smaller, and lower. Then we have this stuff right in the center, creating two exactly the same masses. We don't see part of one, which is great, but still it's dividing it right in the center. So we can push it here and make it more interesting and more dynamic, and make these two also more different from each other. Let's try that. So we'll follow the shape and the form rather than placing it in one spot. I'll increase the size of the right one. And this will give us more contrast, more interest in form and shape. Then this part kind of is connected, so we can integrate it into the overall design by extending the internal details here. Then we'll push, well, let's push this more to the right. Integrating it into the shape. Maybe adding some stuff here and there. And we can leave the side as is, or make it bigger, or make it smaller. So doing something like that. Maybe we can support this particle somewhere here as well. And ideally I would probably smooth it out. So you can try something like that. Next up, to have this one. I like the shape. I like the variation. We can maybe push stuff so it's not exactly on the same level. Maybe like push something further up or down. We can push the difference between these two shapes. And we can make these holes more directional. So it's not even, but rather it has a general direction. So something like that. We can also wrap the holes around so that they don't just stay on the side. We can let the holes go to both sides so we can see some of the darker shape here, and it's kind of more on the edge. One of them is more on the edge and one is more close to us. The second thing is I think we can experiment with a bit more with the shape. Though the circular shape is pretty fine as it is, we can give it some variation. Maybe one side is bigger, one side is smaller if we're aiming for more organic feel as opposed to graphic one. But that's if we want a more organic feel rather than graphic one. And I would remove this stuff. So this stuff doesn't read well, and we're getting too much breakup and too much similar holes and stuff on one side only. So this is the only area where that is present, and because of that it feels a bit unbalanced and a bit weird. You can also experiment with a bit more with these ones. You see they're divided right in thirds, and they're quite similar in terms of the levels and sizes, especially these ones. They're repeating each other a lot. Okay, so this stuff pretty fun. I think the shapes are looking quite nice. We can push some stuff so this edge feels a bit rough. We can polish that a bit. Maybe give some foam here. Have variety of edges and widths in foam. Have some stuff like that, no problem. Back foam. Make these two different. We can, depending on the style, we can break up something here so it's not a single mass. Maybe some details are added to this part as well. Making sure these two don't repeat. making these two a bit different in height. And we can make it interact a bit more with this shape. So adding something here that connects it back. So this stuff is fine. And I think we can experiment a bit more with the internal shades. So maybe they're grouped into thicker one, a thinner one. So something that gives us more variety. Or we've got some trails of foam. And make sure that it's not just a straight line. This one, pretty nice. The thing we can push here is apparently just the symmetry. So it's very symmetrical. And across this line, everything repeats, everything repeats, everything repeats. So just making sure that it's not just divided in the center would be nice. So we can push the differences here. Make sure that we have some variety and everything will be okay. And here you see we kind of have the same weights. So yeah, we can definitely push that and make sure that everything doesn't repeat in terms of distance and weights here as well. We can maybe put something higher, put something lower, way higher. Okay, water animation. So this one is quite tricky and it looked quite cool. This is a complex animation and it's an uncommon type of splash, which I like, and I applaud your effort for coming up with it. So let's see what we can do here. So I think the animation works as is. So it reads, the motion reads, a splash or the bubble of water bursting works quite well and reads. So what are the things that I noticed that feel a bit strange? So let's go one by one. Okay. So something that feels a bit strange here, first off, is the stuff. So you see it goes to the side, decelerates on this frame. Let's use edges. Decelerates suddenly, accelerates again, decelerates, goes down, and it was going to the side, to the right part of the screen. And the thing that's weird about it is that this falls straight down. So if you look at how it falls straight down. And this doesn't make much sense in the nature of its motion. So judging by how it was going up, it should probably fall continuing the motion. So if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then it should probably fall like this with a slight change to the right. Then we have this mass. See, it's going, so accelerating, going down, and it's okay. Let's look what's next. So there are a couple particles that we lost here, you see? Suddenly this section gets lost. We can leave a particle for this section as well. One particle for one frame. There is a weird acceleration on this part. slow down, slow down, acceleration, slow down, slow down, huge acceleration. So you see, this acceleration at the apex stands out because it doesn't make much sense due to the nature of falling on the curve. And it also stands out in terms of, you see, going down, huge change, no change, huge change, again. You'll notice something weird here as well. So you see, fast change, small change, fast change, small change. So we're not going on the curve, we're going on a straight line here, instead of going like this. See, kind of like a staircase. Okay, what else? What else? So this part, the foam goes up, immediately goes down. So what would probably happen is as the burst is opening up, the energy is pushing it to the sides. We can keep it connected here first off because it's just the start. And we can keep some connection here and have more particles trailing. And make sure that these two are different. So make more particles trailing, and then they follow the path. And the foam gets pushed up, trying again to make it asymmetrical so it's not the same thing. And all the stuff is not repeating. And then it can start falling and expanding, probably. This is like the most simple and logical advice. And this stuff can go to the side, slow down. And again, try not to make it too symmetrical so we kind of have this and it's right on the sides. Second thing, you see these particles? They get pushed up quite fast and they fall down immediately. So we can do the same for them. Acceleration, they're going down faster than everything else because they appear so low, but the same principle. It also feels a bit like everything is falling with a very similar timing. And I'm mostly talking about these two parts. So the part here and here. And it's the top one. But since it's a big change, let's just keep that in mind. So I think the delay between this part starting to fall down and this part falling down can be even a bit bigger. Like it can be 2-3 frames bigger. So the top part can start falling down, the very top of the top part can start falling down 2-3 frames later. I don't think you need to enforce that change because that would mean change a lot. But that's something to keep in mind. Okay. Putting all that stuff aside, let's talk about design. So design-wise, I think it's a pretty cool element and we can definitely push the design further. First thing, to make the backside read even better as the backside, we can make it a bit darker. Second thing, we can have more unity in shapes, internal shapes, because we have quite a lot of unity in the overall contour and stuff like that. But the blue, dark blues are very broken up, even when the shape is generally super connected. And as also, I don't think we need that many whites here, like the foam, because it doesn't follow the form, or we can make it follow the form better. Because right now, you see, we can add it, and it's just following this form. It's ignoring the other forms a bit, and then it's very symmetrically placed and doesn't give much to the design. Okay, so again, the first thing that comes to mind is just making it less broken up in these dark blues, because they have very sharp edges and they don't really follow all the volumes that much and create a lot of detail that we may not need. So let's try taking a frame and redesigning it a tiny bit. So what we want to reinforce here, want to reinforce the sense of liquid, variety, and flow. I'm trying to make sure that the sides do not repeat and the shapes that are next to each other do not repeat. Next, I'll add the ripples and make sure that the ripples also have variety and emphasize direction, perspective, and change. Adding a bit more volume to the foam and emphasizing which forms are behind or in the back. Just some stuff to add detail. Okay, now we'll go to the liquid. I want to emphasize directionality and make sure the forms emphasize the volume. And make sure that these two don't look too similar. This is a squat stack. It's trying to integrate it into the overall shape. Holes are all the same level. So maybe we can make something more varied. Let's keep that, just to keep a bit more of the original design. Now, we'll need to emphasize changes in volumes here, so it's going on a different volume, so the shape changes. Stretch it out across the volume here more. Okay, let's add this additional layer. Let's fill the stuff here. Of course. I like this idea. And now you can add some flow here and there, and this darker shape. Hmm. So the foam can wrap around the surface more here. What else? here we can leave just a tiny bit of it. Overlaps a bit more here. Let's see. Now we'll need to figure out how to add the other layer more consistently. Okay. Maybe this stuff can be bigger. Not sure about that, so we can push that. Okay. Suppose we have this. Then we need to add the secondary color, third color. So I think it works pretty well here. We just need to make the shape more rounded and fit better within the other stuff. Creating nice edges here. Integrating all of the stuff here into one shape with a couple changes. Okay, now here, again integrating all of the stuff. Maybe it can be integrated into this kind of shape. Getting more break at the bottom than at the top. Then have this. Do we need something here? We'll combine this stuff. Give some directionality to the shape here. Then if you want, we can experiment a bit more with the foam and all that stuff. So if we were to experiment a bit more and simplify all that and change the shape and not just this kind of stuff, we could go and maybe focus more on the rounded circular shape. Then we can distribute stuff a bit differently. In this case, I'm emphasizing the direction of the surface with the foam. So I can do something like that, which is also very stylized. We can favor foam over other stuff. Limit the amount of shadows. Then the white color will be more dominant. So these are options. You can go with either of them. So overall, it's working pretty well. We can simplify stuff. We can add more interaction between the shapes. Or we can emphasize the highlights more. Do something like that here. Add some shadows here. Limit the highlights here. So we have all these different choices. And any of them are okay. So aside from that, aside from some of these design questions, aside from some of these motion changing questions, I think it's working pretty well. So getting more into details, we can also push the amount of motion blur on some of the particles. So you can increase the length of the shadow and emphasize the shadow a bit differently. So right now, the particles are kind of wobbly, rounded. We can push them when they're falling very fast. We can give them this kind of shape. And exaggerate the length of the shadow and the highlight to give a sense of motion blur in a sense, because we won't see the water as it is when it's falling. We'll see kind of the motion blurred version of it in our eyes, in our vision. Aside from that, the small stuff also goes to things like that. Suddenly increasing in size, decreasing, increasing, decreasing. We can structure some particles better. So right here gets a bit confusing with particle going this way, this particle going that way. We can emphasize the direction here a bit better. So it's going here in this direction, so we can exaggerate these particles in the direction that they're going and make sure that we maintain the direction. This particle is going like this. It's going down this way. So we should match the direction of the particle and the trajectory. This one, where is it going? It's going 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is a path. So we can angle it a bit more in this direction. And again, increasing the stretch in the shadow, in the highlight, and in the particle itself. And what else? Again, if this is the particle direction and kind of form, it's falling like that, we can angle it slightly. It gets a bit too busy here. So these particles kind of slow down when they fall down. We don't really need that slowdown, a lot of that. And we can reduce some of the smallest particles so that they don't make it too messy. And be sure to check the curves. Aside from that, it's looking pretty good. So hope that helps even a tiny bit. Wish you good luck with your animations. Don't forget to simplify some of the stuff. And see you later. Bye bye.